This is the latest and most complete settings for PUBG Mobile and Battleground Mobile India. In the first section, set these two options to default, meaning tap, and also make sure it's on always on. When this option is on always on, it gives you one more option in addition to the right shoot option. The shoot button on the left does not move with touch. I will explain its use later, but the right option moves with touch, meaning it will rotate with the slightest movement of the screen as long as you keep your hand on it. The important point here is that for close combat, you should use the button on the right, and for long-range combat, you should use the button on the left. As you mentioned that you use the zoom option on the left and the shoot option on the right, you can easily switch them in the control section. Don't worry about left and right. I mean the layout of these controls that I use. This is the layout I am accustomed to, so don't be concerned. And in the scope section, apply these settings for yourself. If the scope mode is set to hold, you must keep your hand on the screen to zoom in, and it will only stay in zoom mode as long as your hand remains on the screen. Otherwise, it won't. This helps you quickly hit multiple targets. Just place your hand quickly and lift it to transfer the aim to the next target. The camera rotation while ADS option, if enabled, allows your scope to move with touch. However, if you are playing with 4 fingers, it's better to keep this option disabled because if it's enabled, the screen will rotate when you zoom, causing recoil for you. The best option is to have it disabled. These two options also don't have any specific use, so set them to default. But when the quick scope switch is enabled, you can easily adjust the desired scope over your weapon from the screen without going into your inventory. And in the peak section, LVE set these configurations for you. First, let me explain why I set the peak mode to mixed. When this option is set to mixed, you have both tap and hold modes. This means that if you tap once, peak will be activated. But if you hold your finger on peak for more than a second, you will remain in peak mode as long as your hand is on the screen, just like the hold mode I explained in the scope section. Also, here, as a non-Euro player, you should keep the camera rotation while leaning enabled, because this allows you to move the peak with touch, which helps you control your aim effectively. The peak and open scope option is optional. If you feel it's necessary, you can enable it. However, I should mention that if it's enabled, when you peek, you automatically go into zoom mode, which makes control a bit harder, so as a beginner, don't use it and keep it disabled. Set the basic section as I mentioned, and in the advanced controls, leave the first 2 options in default mode, as they won't change anything in your gameplay. Keep the headshot sound effect enabled because it's the sound of a headshot. In this section, set jump climb to separate. Once you do this, 2 options for jumping will be activated. The first option doesn't allow you to climb walls. It's only used for spotting enemies behind walls or shooting over them. The second option allows you to climb over the wall when you are close enough to it. Another important option you should enable is quick throw. When this is enabled, you can quickly grab grenades and similar items directly from here, which helps you access them faster. Another important option is throw consumables. By enabling this, you can throw items from supply boxes to your teammates, for example, when you're under siege. On the left, we have the merge crunch and prone option, which is not useful at all. When you enable it, the prone option disappears, and by holding the crunch option, your character will go prone, which is very time-consuming, so keep it disabled. Set the throwables quick wheel to switch in this section. With this, when you hold on the grenade option, you can swipe left and right to use smoke, flash, and fire as well. Make sure to use this, and of course, it's also for using items from supply boxes. Don't do this mistake. And here, the transparent all mode is not useful at all. It allows you to temporarily hide the options on the screen in classic mode. Below that, we have the FPP option. If enabled, you can activate FPP mode on your display. However, the use of FPP dynamic holding is something different. By enabling this option, you can have a broader view in FPP mode. It makes a significant difference, so be sure to use these 2 options. These 2 options also help enhance your view in both FPP and TPP modes. Set these 2 options to maximum size for the best visibility. The sprint sensitivity adjusts the speed of the joystick. If set low, your character will move slower, and if set high, your character will move faster. Be sure to set it to maximum size to become a pro. Let me explain the mark style for you. If it's set to classic, it's not good at all because when you mark a target, or your teammate marks one, you lose sight of the enemy and can't see them clearly. However, if set to modern, you can see the enemy well because the mark appears as a thin line and is faded. Be sure to use it in modern mode.
Marked a location.
In this section, there's a new option that has been recently added. If enabled, it ensures that when you move the joystick forward, your peak does not get disabled. We also have the main screen audio marker. This is very useful, so definitely set it to classic mode. When you do this, in classic mode, you can understand where the enemy is and how many enemies there are. As a beginner, keep aim assist enabled. When active, it helps your aim automatically move up towards the enemy when you get close, and this movement happens while shooting. It's not too strong. Another very important option is auto mark hit location. When this option is enabled, you no longer need to manually mark the enemy or ask your teammate to mark them. It works in such a way that when you shoot at the enemy, a small mark automatically appears above them, which helps both you and your teammates a lot. Be sure to enable this option if you don't want to spend your time marking enemies in the field. At the bottom, keep the continuously use bandages option enabled. It works in such a way that when you use one bandage, the next ones will be used automatically. I must say it's useful, so keep it enabled. Here, we have the block sight warning option. If enabled, it blocks your aim behind any cover, such as walls, rocks, or other obstacles. It's better to keep it disabled, as it allows your aim to be free and makes targeting easier for you. In this section, set the other options to default, as changing these options will only make the game harder. For example, if we change the auto open door option, the door will not open automatically, and you will need to manually activate another option. The last option is auto equip melee weapons. When enabled, if you drop any weapon, one of your melee weapons will automatically equip. This is very useful, especially when you've damaged an enemy and have no bullets left, as a melee weapon will instantly be in your hands. Also, please set the options below according to how LV configured them. This concludes the basic and advanced control section. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. And also apply these graphics settings to yourself. Remember to always play at 120 FPS for the best experience. Also, use this sensitivity, and if the video was helpful, don't forget to like it. Thank you. Also, I will create the best sensitivity settings for you in the video.